Oh my God. You know, I'm sitting here and I'm getting ready to go live, and I'm also watching the Knicks game because, of course, it's Knicks fever here in New York. And this team is up 17 points at one point. And somehow it ends up where they tie the game. And of all the people to tie this game between the Knicks and the Pacers, it is the same man who was being interviewed by Michael Cole and Pat McAfee on Raw Monday night. Tyrese Halliburton, with the luckiest shot in the world, ties the game. And now they're in the middle of overtime. I said, I don't want to wait anymore. I want to come on and do my show here. But my attention is diverted here. So you have to keep me posted in the chat on what's going on. I know the Knicks are up 127-125. Last time I checked. This is going to give me a heart attack here. Anyway, we have to talk about AEW Dynamite, even though right now at this moment I really don't want to. But we have to talk about Dynamite because tonight was the go-home show to Double or Nothing, which is coming up this Sunday. And they gave away the Anarchy in the Arena match tonight. They basically gave it to you at the end of Dynamite. It was pure chaos with the heels and the baby faces, and the heel squad stood tall as Dynamite went off the air. Again, I'm just kind of partially paying attention here. So we had that to close out the show, but really it was the tale of the dueling face-offs as well, because we have two finals matches this Sunday in the Owen Hart tournament, men's tournament and women's tournament. And we had face-offs between the participants in the finals, Will Ospreay and Hangman Adam Page on the men's side, Mercedes Moné and Jamie Hayter on the women's side. And one of these segments, we'll get into which one, was the highlight of the entire show. And honestly, one of the best promos all year. Phenomenal stuff. The other one was very paint by numbers. But the other one, honestly, you know, when we talk about this pay-per-view coming up on Sunday, there's 8 matches currently scheduled for the show. They may add more on Collision. They may add pre-show matches. I'm sure they will. But right now we have 8 matches. There's one match on this show that I am actually invested in. And the segment that we had on this show tonight to actually open the show had a lot to do with that. And I thought they knocked it out of the park with that. MJF, tonight was the contract signing to make him an official member of the Hurt Syndicate. Is he or is he not now an official member of the Hurt Syndicate? We'll talk about that and get into some of the other matches. But again, the only match I am truly invested in on this pay-per-view this weekend is Will Ospreay and Adam Page. Will Ospreay and Hangman Adam Page, which we now know will main event the show. That will be the main event of Double or Nothing, as it should be. That is the correct choice, because that is really the only match that I can bring myself to truly get excited for. I am fully invested and on board in that match, and I cannot say the same, unfortunately, for any of the other matches that are on this show. As a go-home show, though, now we still have Collision. Collision is airing tomorrow night. Instead of Saturday, it's airing on TBS instead of TNT. We'll see. I mean, unless, of course, they want to cut the show off after 18 minutes. So we have Collision, but I mean, the real go-home show is tonight. All right, forget Collision. This was the real go-home show tonight. And they did as good of a job as they could as far as the key matches go. You know, even all the brawling and all the stuff we got at the end with the Anarchy stuff, that's what you would expect, you know, from the final bit of hype for Anarchy in the arena. And as far as the Owen matches, it was very heavy on the promos. No physicality on the men's side. We had some physicality on the women's side. I thought that the key stuff they did a good job with, and on the whole, it was solid. As a go-home show, it was solid for that reason. The other stuff on the show on Sunday, again, for me, it's just kind of there. I don't have the same emotional investment in it that I do in that main event on Sunday. On the whole, though, I thought it was a solid effort heading into Double or Nothing. This is your AEW Dynamite review. It is Wednesday, May 21st, 2025. Quizzical One in the chat says Knicks up 1. They take the lead, a 1-point lead. My God. Now, I've been a casual observer lately about what's been going on with the Knicks because it's been the big story here in New York. My poor brother, though, is watching this game because he's a diehard Knicks fan, and he's got to be having a heart attack right now. This is unbelievable. Fucking Tyrese Halliburton. I still can't believe that shot to tie the game and send it into overtime. But anyway, keep me posted on that. Like and subscribe. Super chats are open. If you want to get your messages on in, I sure would appreciate it. And I will be reading through them later on in the stream, as I always do. We had a fun Raw stream on Monday night. And if you missed it, go back and check that out. As well as episode 913 of the podcast this past Sunday with not one but two Dark Side of the Ring reviews. We're going to have another two coming up this weekend, including the review. I just watched the episode today, the Daphne episode of Dark Side of the Ring. Very, very sad. I mean, it broke me watching it. I knew it would, because it was easily the saddest story of all the stories on this season of Dark Side of the Ring. So I was kind of dreading it. It really is still very fresh if you think about it, because Daphne, she passed away in 2021, I believe. So I don't even think it was a full 5 years ago, 4 years ago maybe. So it's still pretty fresh. And it was very, very sad. Although I will say the last 10 or 15 minutes of the episode was actually kind of uplifting, oddly enough. I thought they covered it in a very tasteful, very respectful way. And I will give my thoughts on that episode of the podcast this upcoming weekend. But go check out all the other content that's there now. So the Cavs went up by one, but now the Knicks are back up by one. With 1 minute left. Are you kidding me? Oh my God. We should do a watch along. We should do a watch. You know what? Let me hold on a second here before we get into the real nuts and bolts here. Let me do a little watch along here. I have the Knicks feed here in front of me. All right, they make a basket. There you go. Brunson with the basket. The Knicks are at 135, 134. We got 35 seconds left in this game. In overtime. And the Pacers have the ball back. There's Halliburton. He's in the new DLC pack coming to WWE 2K25, and they fucking scored. Unbelievable. So now the Pacers are back up by one. 136, 135, with 26 seconds left in this game. This is unbelievable. And the Knicks just called a timeout. Oh my God. This is crazy. This is only game one. This is only game one. Unbelievable. Oh, Pacers up. But let me tell you something. If the Knicks lose this game, this is the kind of loss that is very difficult, because the Mets have had a few losses like this in their past. This is the kind of loss that's very hard to come back from. Is this the NBA equivalent of the kickout spam? You know what? I think it is. It's like the constant kickouts in wrestling. They hit their finish, and the other guy kicks out. The other guy hits his finish. This guy kicks out. That's exactly what it is. Game 2 on Friday, huh? That's during SmackDown. Lovely. Lovely. Solo is going to rip his hair out soon. I'm going to get into this Will Ospreay, Hangman Page stuff here, because this was the best thing on the entire show. So I don't want to interrupt it. So I want to see if this game is going to end here in the next 30 seconds. All right, so we're resuming now. Oh man, Indiana up by one. All right, Knicks ball. 25 seconds left in the game. Dribble, 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 dribble. Passing the... Oh. That ball was almost intercepted there. Oh, God. Come on, man. Can we please play the game? Enough, with the fouls, it's going to be like 15 minutes left in this game. Look at this. Halliburton and Brunson. I'm telling you, man, it's like Rodman and Malone. We're going to have our Rodman and Malone moment here with these two. And they're going to be in a match at SummerSlam. You wait and see. It's coming. Okay, so the Pacers are challenging an out-of-bounds call. This is, by the way, this is sound of history here, because I've done like live watch-along coverage of like the big boxing fight occasionally. and stuff in the past, but I think this is the first time I've done NBA coverage here. Sure, all the international viewer. I'm going to have to cut all this shit out when I put the audio up. All the international viewers are like, "Who gives a shit about basketball?" It's a coach's challenge. All right, so there's 19 seconds left in this game. It's being looked at right now. When we get to the end of the review, by the way, I will run down the full card for Double or Nothing as it currently stands. Again, it's 8 matches. So I will run down the card and give my final predictions. I've changed my prediction on one match. I've changed my prediction. I'll let you try to figure out which one it is. I've changed my prediction on one of the matches. So we'll talk about that here in a little bit. All right, here we go. Can we resume play, please? All right, they're about to resume play. They love basketball internationally. Some people do, not everybody. Not everybody does. I wonder what they thought of the segment with Tyrese Halliburton on Raw Monday night. I wonder if they cared about that. Great interview, by the way, today with Karrion Kross on Ariel Helwani's show. He was in studio on Ariel's show. I didn't see all of it, but when it was airing live, I watched a good chunk of it. Good stuff. I'm hoping he finds his way into Money in the Bank. If he's not at least in one of the qualifying matches, then they're just idiots. All right, here we go. The game is back on, and the Pacers just scored again. The Pacers are up by 3. The Pacers are up by 3 with 15 seconds left in the game. Oh boy, this is not good. It's like they're running out of gas. Just review Knicks games. Well, there's going to be a bunch of them coming up. It's like they ran out of gas. Oh man, this is the damnedest game. This is the damnedest game. This is going to be just devastating if they lose. They were up 17. And if they lose this game, I mean, how do you come back from that? Like, just psychologically. How do you come back from that? All right, well, there's a timeout. 15 seconds left on the clock. Damn. Knicks selling harder than HBK did to Hogan. Obviously, Solo's had a change of heart after that fantastic Dustin Rhodes promo. Oh, yeah. The one where it looked like he forgot what he was going to say a couple times. Is that the fantastic promo you're referring to? All right, here we go. Back on the court. 138, 135, Indiana. 15 seconds left. Here we go. All right, the ball is in play. Brunson with the ball. For the 3. Oh, my God. Air ball. Oh, Knicks got the rebound. Nope. Dude. Oh, they got the rebound again. Look at this shit. Look, holy shit. Now went out of bounds. That's it. It's over. It's over. 0.2 seconds left. That's it. I think. Unless they're going to reset the clock here. Again, I can't hear the game audio, so I don't know what the deal is. I think this game's over. Wow. This is devastating. There's no coming back from this. I'm sorry. Like, you're up by that much. Game 1, set the tone for the series, and you lose in this way. I don't know how you come back from that. I really don't. I don't know how you come back from that. What are they doing? Are they looking? I think are they reviewing something? Let me just make sure they're done here before we. They're reviewing something. I'll tell you what though, if this ends up official here, how is this not, I mean, just an epic, just an epic choke job. I mean, this one should have been in the bag. I'm not saying teams haven't come back from this. I'm just saying psychologically, how do you put this out of your mind? Unless you just get angry. Just get angry about it, but you know, Pacers were a good team. Just the look of defeat on Halliburton, not Halliburton, on Brunson's face. All right, well, they're resuming, but I mean, it's over. I mean, 0.2. Yeah, that's it. Wow. Man, oh man. That is brutal. That is brutal. Well, on that note, we get to talk about Dynamite now. Because Tony Schiavone was in the ring to open the show. Oh my God. I can't get over that. To introduce the two men in the finals of the men's Owen Hart tournament final. And it was Hangman Adam Page and then Will Ospreay out to the ring. This right here, you want to look at a great example of how you sell a pay-per-view main event. Look no further than what they did here in this segment. Ospreay spoke first. And he said he understands why security are surrounding ringside, because they had all security guards surrounding the ring outside. He said, we're not going to get physical. Hangman agreed, we're not going to get physical here. Ospreay dismissed them all and said, don't worry, make sure you still all get paid, but you can leave. And the security guards left. So Ospreay said, look, I have one question for you, Hangman. Do you still drink? Telling a man with a drinking problem, do you still drink? He has 2 beers handed to him by somebody from the outside as a sort of a peace offering from last week. Remember, they seemed to be on the brink of fighting. They did the tag team match. Can they coexist? And then they had a little bit of a breakdown there at the end. So this was a peace offering. Ospreay hands one of the beers to Page. Page doesn't budge, though. He doesn't seem interested in it. So they both put down their beers. Ospreay says he's out here to petition Tony Khan and the board of directors that this Sunday at Double or Nothing, they should main event the show. He wants them to main event the show. Because a lot of people might think he's mad for wanting that. You got to follow Anarchy in the arena. You got to follow 3 hours of just great wrestling matches. But they don't realize what's at stake. The winner of this match will have the responsibility of bringing back the beautiful gold belt. Yes, the belt that we have not seen. We have not seen the physical belt since October of last year. We have yet to see the AEW World Championship in 2025. And that really is what is at stake here. The opportunity to go on to Texas and to grab that belt and bring it back into the fold, to bring it back to television where we could all see it again. So he said he wants this so bad, but yeah, the moment he stepped into AEW, he did it the right way. He's traveling to and from England, constantly jet lagged, but he shows up and he says, ring the bell. Ospreay wants to wear that belt with pride. Most importantly, though, he wants to bring it home. Because on August 24th, AEW has a little show called Forbidden Door, which is coming to the O2 Arena in London. And it just so happens that Ospreay's home is just 30 minutes away from the O2 Arena. And people have supported him since he was very young. He was an immature kid, so he wants to wear that title to thank them for their support. Every Tuesday, Ospreay leaves his 6-year-old at home, and he wants nothing more than to see Ospreay as the world heavyweight champion. Ospreay realizes how much Hangman wants it. It's just that Ospreay wants it a little bit more. So then it was Hangman's turn to respond. And he said that that's the difference between the two of us here. Like it will be on Sunday, Ospreay wants it. He realizes there's no greater prize than to be the All Elite Wrestling World Champion. For Ospreay, this could be a professional accomplishment. But for Hangman, this is personal. He doesn't want this opportunity. He needs this opportunity. And he starts screaming that he's wasted 2 years of his life filled with grief and sorrow and hate and not winning a single tournament or championship. And the one thing he did win, clearly referring to the cage match he had with Swerve back at All Out, brought him nothing but the same. He brought up Christmas morning. His son sat on the floor playing with his toys, looking up at his dad who was staring out the window, looking for someone that he knew would never come back. When Page goes home, he needs his wife to not see him and take pity, but see the man that she fell in love with. He wants this for the fans who believed in him when he deserved it the least. And he needs this for himself, a light at the end of the 2-year tunnel from hell. He needs this after Ospreay told him that it was too little, too late. Ospreay asks, what do you plan on doing about it? You gonna wrap a chair around my skull? You gonna beat my head in so badly that I'm gonna have to retire like Christopher Daniels? Ospreay has been there, but he refuses to go back. Come Sunday, he's showing up and doing his best. And sometimes his best isn't good enough. He can admit that, but he did not lose by pulling the referee out of the ring or by whining in the back that he didn't get his way. If Ospreay lost, he did so by maintaining the fans' respect. He said he won their trust. And as he says this, Hangman starts screaming, asking if it would be enough to beat Jon Moxley and the Death Riders. And Ospreay yells back at him, I don't know. I don't know. But he says Hangman does. So show me on Sunday. If Ospreay can beat Page, then he knows that he can beat Moxley and can bring that title back. Hangman used to be a good-hearted dude, but he's a cowboy, someone they should look for when times get tough, but his attention has been turned on Swerve Strickland. An entire year has changed him. Ospreay said kids don't look up to him anymore, while the boys in the back have lost respect for him. Hell, there was a woman in the crowd who screamed when Hangman almost ended Swerve's career. Ospreay said before Hangman writes him off, he's beaten MJF, he's beaten Bryan Danielson, he's beaten Kazuchika Okada, he's beaten Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega. He's proved them all wrong and said that he is the best in the effing world. Ospreay said despite all of this, he has Page's back, and he hopes Hangman can say the same. Ospreay then picked up the beer and said for Hangman to meet him in the desert for a shootout on Sunday. And Ospreay took a swig of the beer all over him like he's fucking Steve Austin. He's doing his Steve Austin cosplay here. He tossed it aside. Hangman slowly raises the beer and he chugs the entire thing. Nothing left. So both men leave the ring. They ended up walking up the aisleway together, never taking their eyes off each other because they don't trust each other. And they stopped on stage where the Owen Hart Cup was positioned on a podium or a pedestal. And we get one last face-off with the cup very appropriately positioned on camera right in between the two of them in the background. This was a tremendous piece of business. I cannot say enough good things about this segment. One of the best all year on this show. One of the best all year, frankly, on any of the shows that I've reviewed. And the best possible way, frankly, that you could have given one last big push for the main event match on Sunday. You had both men here in this segment. Very basic stuff. They are articulating why this match is so meaningful to them. Right? We have matches every week. Every single week. Hours and hours and hours of wrestling television. These pay-per-views. Hours and hours of AEW pay-per-views. Every month. Just about. So what makes this match so special? Yeah, we have the Owen Hart Cup. Right? Owen's legacy. Why is this match so much more important than all the others? Their job was to go out there tonight and articulate that to the audience in such a way that it would make you excited, if you weren't already, and if you were, make you more excited, to want to see this match on Sunday. And that's what they did. Will Ospreay, he did his job. Hangman Page did his job. He said it's personal for him. He's wasted 2 years of his career just consumed by hate. Hasn't won a single championship. He hasn't done anything of note when it comes to titles and tournaments and trophies and all that kind of stuff. His time now is now. His time is now so that he can reclaim that championship and take it away from the Death Riders. He knows he can do it. He doesn't think Will Ospreay can do it. Ospreay feels otherwise. He's got a little boy at home who wants to see him as the world heavyweight champion. He wants to be the flag bearer for this company. He wants to be the one to drive the stake right in the heart of the Death Riders. Back and forth they went. That was what the entire purpose of this segment was. Tell me why I should care. And that's what they did. That's what they went out there and did. It's not a matter of I want to win this match. Here's why I have to win this match. So I thought it was excellent stuff. I love how Ospreay brought up his past battles with Moxley and never being able to beat him. And the fact that Hangman has. And so if I could beat Hangman on Sunday, then I know I can beat Jon Moxley. All I got to do is get past you. And I know I can beat him. So they did a hell of a job here. I would give the slight edge to Hangman, even though Ospreay had more to say on the mic. And he didn't do a bad job. But I love a lot of the character stuff. You know, the way that the Hangman character has developed over the last few years. That feud with Swerve was so great. Just how it started and it just kind of continued on and how personal it got. And yeah, it went over the top. You know, this guy breaks into his house and then he burns down his house. It's wrestling. I mean, it's silly shit. But the way that the character has sort of evolved, you know, over time, I've enjoyed that, you know, aspect of the Hangman story. But here's the other reason why this match works so well. It's a great match to do in the finals of this tournament because it's not predictable. You may think that you know who's going to win this match. I may think that I know who's going to win this match. You know, I have a prediction for the match, but do I know for sure? Can I sit here and tell you, oh, Ospreay's winning? Of course, Hangman's winning. Clear as day. I can't sit here and tell you that. And you can't really say that for a lot of matches in WWE and AEW these days. A lot of the match outcomes, frankly, are predictable. You know, you can see that John Cena is not going to lose this match. You know, this guy's not going to lose this. Jon Moxley's not going to lose this match. And we go through this so often. Here's a match where it really could go either way, and either outcome is fine. I would love to see Hangman win and go to All In and win the championship. I would be totally fine with Will Ospreay winning and going to All In and winning the championship. Of course, we're talking about Jon Moxley and the Death Riders here. So I would be very happy if a fucking water bug won on Sunday and then went on to All In with his little, you know, his little roach arms and held up the AEW World Championship. That'd be fine with me too. But either outcome here is perfectly fine, and it legitimately could go either way. So it makes the match outcome more, undefined. It makes the match outcome a little less predictable than it ordinarily would be. And that's also a good thing. That's another one of the aspects of this match that I really like. So the main event on Sunday, we now know what it is. Tony Khan made it official. This match will close the show, as it should. As far as I'm concerned, this is the real main event of the show. It was even before tonight. But it also is pretty cool because it puts over the importance of the finals of the Owen. This is the first time, I believe, that the finals of an Owen Hart tournament is actually going to close out a pay-per-view. So it just enhances the importance of that tournament as well. Mark Kwan says, Waterbug for champion. My God, water bugs are the bane of my existence, but I would happily strap the belt around one if it meant getting the title away from Jon Moxley and the Death Riders. Let's start that campaign. Waterbug for champion. What would his finishing move be? They're very fast. They are very, very fast. Trust me. I've gone to war with many of them over the years. Hey, David Thiering, thank you for the $23 Hogan Gets Booed super chat. Always good to hear from David. We got what they billed as an all-star trios match. Stop me if you've heard this before. Another one of these all-star trios matches. We had Jon Moxley and the Young Bucks taking on Swerve Strickland, Samoa Joe, and Powerhouse Hobbs. Joe and Moxley kicked things off here. Mox took a cheap shot at Joe, tagged out to Nick Jackson. There was a spot later where Joe and Swerve avoided springboard splashes by the Bucks by simply walking away. They did the nope. Moxley raked Hobbs' eyes and then dove on him at ringside. Joe considered doing a dive, but he ate a super kick instead. Swerve then took out the Bucks with a Fosbury flop to the floor. Joe then dove on all three heels. Everybody dives. Everybody dives. This was Dive Central. Moxley stomped on Hobbs as the show came back from break. Nick tagged in, landed some strikes that Hobbs just shrugged off. He caught Nick coming off the ropes, dropped him with a power slam. Swerve tagged in, hit a power slam of his own. He slipped as he flipped to the floor. He recovered quickly, though, landed a backbreaker on Nick. Nick Jackson climbed to the top rope a little while later. He went for a swanton. Swerve got his knees up. Moxley cleared the corner, though, before Swerve could make the tag. And the Bucks landed a combo of strikes on Swerve, followed by a Moxley suplex. And they landed risky business on Swerve for a near fall. They followed up with an assisted 450 for another near fall. Moxley continued the attack on Swerve as the show came back from yet another break. He delivered pile drivers. Joe, though, ran in to prevent a pinfall attempt. Moxley applied a crossface. Eventually, there was a full Nelson on Swerve, and out of desperation, Swerve landed a hard right hand. Moxley, though, replied with a headbutt. Both men were down. Swerve finally crawled over to make the tag to Joe. Moxley tagged in Matt Jackson, who got the shit kicked out of him. Swerve landed a big splash, and he covered for a close near fall. Hobbs tagged in, and he ate a double super kick from the Bucks. Swerve hit a house call kick on Moxley and a stomp on both Bucks on the floor. Hobbs dropped the straps. He hit a spine buster on all three heels. He was firing up the crowd. Swerve went up top. Moxley shoved Hobbs into him, and Joe got taken out by a double super kick. The Bucks went for an EVP trigger. Swerve, though, avoided it. He knocked, so instead the Bucks knocked knees with each other. Joe then applied a coquina clutch to Nick Jackson. Swerve rolled up Matt Jackson for the flash pin to win it. For the baby faces, we were almost 20 minutes into this match. When it was over, the heels went on the attack with some help from Claudio. Here comes Wheeler Yuta, Marina Shafir. This brought out Willow Nightingale, who pounced her. Here comes Kenny Omega, evening the odds. Took out Matt Jackson with a V-trigger. Joe and Swerve, they set up a table on the floor outside, and Omega tried to put Matt through it, off the apron with a one-winged angel, but Claudio saved this man's life. And he grabbed Matt, he pulled him back into the ring, and then eventually they retreated into the crowd. Joe got on the mic, and he's looking at them because they're all in the crowd. And he said, a sane man would wait until Sunday, but he's not sane. And they're not waiting until then. They're coming after their asses tonight here in Albuquerque, because that's where they were tonight. They were in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Look, there were some fun spots here. It's just way too similar to all the other trios matches that I feel like we've had an abundance of them over the last few weeks, and multiple ones tagged with this all-star label. So after a while, they all just sort of blend together. But we had Swerve getting his win back on Matt Jackson. If you remember on Dynamite a couple of weeks ago, Matt got the pin on him. So this was Swerve's revenge. He got to pin Matt. Of course, when Matt pinned Swerve, you know where that happened. It was in a big trios match. So now they're even. We'll talk more about Anarchy in the arena later because we finally were told what the teams are going to be. We didn't know until tonight what the teams were even going to be for Anarchy in the arena. We had a sense of like some of the people that would be involved after what happened last week. But we didn't actually find out until the show tonight. So we'll talk about who that's going to be. In the arena, the Hurt Syndicate made their entrance for the next segment. The lawyers were out in the ring as well. Hurt Syndicate had their own lawyer. MJF has his lawyer, Smart Mark Sterling, who is already in the ring. And MVP addressed the audience. He said he had an announcement. He said they were here to officially induct the fourth member into the Hurt Syndicate. Now, he didn't say we're here to officially induct MJF into the Hurt Syndicate. He said we're here to induct the fourth member, a new member, into the Hurt Syndicate. And they were keeping it just vague enough that I said, I think I know where this is headed. So then he brought MJF out to the ring. MJF said that he would boo too if he was born and raised in a place like Albuquerque. He said his mother once told him the greatest day of his life would be when he gets married. But that dumb bitch clearly never joined the Hurt Syndicate. So MJF and MVP, they really started healing on some fans in the crowd. And then Mark Sterling announced that MJF is going to sign first, and then each member of the Hurt Syndicate would sign the contract and make it official. So Bobby Lashley was the last to sign, and he didn't at first. He picked up the contract. It looked like he was having second thoughts. He was reading it a little more closely. He took a step back. MVP came over to talk to him, and Shelton was discussing it with him. So Bobby signed off after having some last-minute reservations here. But then they were interrupted by Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara, the Sons of Texas, who made their way out onto the stage. Now, you see, they beat the Crew on Collision. That was your Collision main event. Now, you may not know that because a lot of people didn't get to see the Collision main event because TNT decided to end Collision 30 minutes early on Saturday. They just cut the show off. There were 2 matches left, and the show all of a sudden was over, and people are waiting for it to come back on after the commercial, and instead they see The Rock because it's Black Adam. And they were like, what the fuck happened here? So actually, a lot of people probably never got to see the main event, which was to determine the number 1 contenders for the AEW World Tag Team titles. So, spoiler, Lio Rush and Action Andretti did not win. Dustin and Sammy, they're the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions. Now they have a chance to become the AEW Tag Team Champions because they're the ones getting the match against the Hurt Syndicate on Sunday. So Dustin tells MJ, and by the way, what a fucking amateur hour situation that was. Not even on AEW, but on Turner. I still don't know how that happens. At a major network, how does that happen? I mean, I'm assuming a wrong button gets pushed. But like when you realize it, right? When you realize what has happened, how hard is it to just end the movie and just go back to the show that you just cut off? They just put Black Adam on and that was it. They ran a crawl on the bottom of the screen apologizing, but they didn't put the fucking show back on. I don't get it. So Dustin tells MJF that he doesn't have the work ethic or the grit that they do. He says he hates his guts. He said that he has the utmost respect for MVP, but he thinks it's in his best interest to watch for that snake in the grass. Rhodes and Guevara, they're day one guys. They're day one-ish, you might say. 6 years ago, they did something special. They changed the landscape with the first Double or Nothing. Fast forward to this Sunday, they want more gold. It says they're the undefeated Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions, and he tells Lashley and Benjamin to look at him in the eyes and says that if you like hurting people, why don't you jump on me and try hurting me? MVP said, be careful what you wish for. And Dustin said that he and Sammy have looked the devil in the eye and they've lived to tell the tale. Don't expect this to be a walk in the park because it won't be. They fight with soul, passion, and heart, and you can't touch their work ethic. And if he was a betting man, he would bet on the day one guys. I was there for that first Double or Nothing 6 years ago, and that Cody and Dustin match, which is still one of the best. Some people would say the best, but it's certainly one of the best matches, even to this day in the history of the company. But I would be lying if I told you I was excited for this match. You know, Dustin's promo also was very, it got a little meandering there. It just kept going, and then there were a couple of different points where it looked like he lost his train of thought, or you forgot what he was going to say, or was trying to figure out what he wanted to say. You know, he drove home the whole day one guy point a few times. So I don't know. It was a little rough there, trying to get the train back on the tracks. This was actually overall a really disappointing segment, though. Not even because of the Dustin Sammy deal where they came out, but the fact that this seemed to be building towards some kind of twist or some kind of payoff or something involving MJF and the Hurt Syndicate. And nothing happened. Evidently, they all signed the contract, and I guess as of this moment, MJF is just officially a member of the Hurt Syndicate. So there was no big swerve or big question or big reluctance on Bobby's part to sign the contract, and the contract still hasn't been signed, and so what does that mean? What's going to happen? it just ended. Like after Dustin's promo finished, the segment just ended and they just moved on. And this was like one of the things on the show that I was most looking forward to seeing where the story would go. And it didn't really go anywhere except they signed the contract and MJF is in the Hurt Syndicate. So we'll have to wait and see, you know, exactly where this is going to go next. Again, they were teasing the idea that maybe somebody else would join. That's how I was reading it, because they weren't explicitly saying we're out here to bring MJF, you know, Maxwell Jacob Friedman into the Hurt Syndicate. It was like we're adding a new member, we're welcoming a new member. And I'm sitting here going, well, they're not telling you it's MJF, so he'll come out and they'll get a new member, but it's going to end up being Cedric Alexander, you know, for example, who I still think is ultimately going to come in and join this group. I still think he's coming in and joining this group. I don't know when, but I still feel like that's ultimately the direction where this is going to go. But whether it was him or somebody else or something else happened, nothing happened. So I just think that they didn't stick the landing here. Now, MJF does not have a match on the pay-per-view this Sunday. Is he going to play a role in this tag team title match? I would imagine he'll be at the show. I would imagine he might even be out there with the Hurt Syndicate. He might try to give them the assist. Of all the teams that, you know, you could put in there with Lashley and Shelton, where MJF may get involved and like inadvertently cost them the match or something, and then they lose the titles, like that would have made sense if you had them in there with a team like FTR. In there against Dustin and Sammy, like they're not winning the AEW tag team titles, right? They're still going to lose. So, and there's no point in putting the titles on them anyway if they already have the Ring of Honor tag team titles. Sammy Guevara has been back not very long. You can count on one hand and still have fingers left over the number of AEW appearances that Sammy Guevara has made in the last, I don't know, year. But there he is. He's challenging for the AEW tag team titles on Sunday. We'll see if MJF plays a role in that match. But this segment was very underwhelming. So backstage, Okada was interviewed by Renee Paquette. He said Speedball Mike Bailey doesn't call him out because he called Speedball out. Okada said Speedball would find out why Okada is the Continental Champion and he is not. And Renee asked if he was worried because Speedball has yet to be pinned in AEW. And Okada answered that there was a first time for everything. That is now official for the pay-per-view. It will be Okada defending the Continental Championship against Speedball Mike Bailey. We had the pride of wrestling, Anthony Bowens, taking on Ricochet. Excalibur, he really said this on commentary. Excalibur said, since returning, Bowens has been on an incredible hot streak. And I thought, really? I mean, I remember when he came back, I believe it was on the pre-show at Dynasty, answering the open challenge, and he beat Max Caster. And I'm like, he got a great reaction. He had new music. He's obviously, gotten himself in great shape. Like, he checks all the boxes. This could be the start of something here for Anthony Bowens. And I believe at the time I even commented and said they should begin the build, right? It'll take some time, but start building him up so that later in the year or even in the summer, you put the TNT title on him, because he's the kind of guy who would really benefit from something like that. They put the TNT title on Daniel Garcia and the title fucking died. The title is on Adam Cole now. And I had to sit here for like 15 seconds the other day and I was writing something down. I'm like, wait a minute, who's the TNT champion? Like, I had to sit here because I forgot who the TNT champion is. That's never happened before. I know who every other champion is, but the TNT title has never felt this insignificant in the history of this company. Like, we are long removed from the days of Cody and Darby and, the days that they had that championship. And it's sad, but that's a championship that should be used and can be used to help elevate people. With Daniel Garcia, I'm sorry, to me, it was a very underwhelming reign that he had. Anthony Bowens is somebody who could benefit, from holding the TNT title if they are serious about pushing him. So again, I'm listening to Excalibur here talk about what an incredible hot streak that Anthony Bowens has been on. And I had to look it up to see what has he done. since Dynasty. I know he's been on Collision a couple of times, but like, what has he really done since beating Max Caster? I'll tell you what he's done. That hot streak that Excalibur referred to includes 2 matches on Collision, not even Dynamite, since mid-April. It includes wins over Blake Christian and Lee Johnson, 2 people who never win anything on these shows. Very talented, but they don't win. So he beat the 2 of them. Apparently, this constitutes an incredible hot streak that this man is on. I shudder to think what a terrible losing streak would look like for Anthony Bowens. Here's the reality of Mr. Bowens here. Anthony Bowens came back with some fanfare, and Tony Khan has done nothing with him. He came back at the beginning of April. We are now barreling towards the end of May. So before long, it's going to be 2 months since Anthony Bowens came back. And I had to look up the matches that he's had. And he's had all of 2. Before tonight, he's had all of 2. This was his first Dynamite match. So whatever little bit of momentum it felt like maybe he's going to start to build, hasn't happened yet. Now, he was in the ring with Ricochet tonight. Ricochet is an example of somebody who has been given consistent television time. And he also had a story, right? He was feuding with Swerve there for a while. And he hasn't really had any story since then. But at least he's on television every single week. He's involved, whether it's a singles match, whether it's an all-star trios match, whatever kind of match it is, he's getting visibility on the main show every single week. And that's key. That's something that Anthony Bowens does not have. Anthony Bowens is not going anywhere unless that changes very soon. And I don't know why you would bring him back and see the reaction that he got and just say, okay, that's really nice. You know what I think we'll do? I think we'll just relegate him to Collision and give him 2 matches in 6 weeks. What do you expect to accomplish with that? Unless he just doesn't see the potential in him. I mean, I can't imagine he doesn't see anything in this guy. And why wouldn't you want to take advantage of that? Like, you just brought him back. Why put him basically on ice, basically, when he just came back and you can try to begin building him up for something like the TNT title in a few months? Or even if it's not the TNT title, just try to build him up and make something out of him, because he's one of those AEW original guys. You know, he's not a guy that you pulled from WWE or NXT or New Japan. You swiped him away from somewhere else. Like, he could be one of these, you know, AEW original guys that you build up. Look at what they've done with Kyle Fletcher. And Fletcher's another one, by the way. Fletcher had a lot of momentum on his side. And now it's starting to feel to me like he has no match on Sunday. That's fine. He doesn't have to be on every single paper. And believe me, 8 matches is fine. I'm not saying we need more matches, but last few weeks, it's felt like ever since he got bounced out of the Owen, I've started to wonder, okay, coming out of Double or Nothing, are we going to see them hit the reset button and involve him in something new and something meaningful? Or is he going to go to the wayside like a lot of these other guys have? Because Kyle Fletcher, I've given them praise for the job they've done of really building him up. Like, they made a star out of this guy. He was a tag team wrestler. His partner got hurt. They gave him an opportunity to break out as a single, and he's knocked it out of the park. Anthony Bowens, I mean, is he going to be, you know, that caliber of performer? I don't know, but I said from the moment it looked like they were going to split up him and Caster. Not that Caster is somebody who can't get over. You know, obviously he's a charismatic guy, but I thought from the very beginning that Bowens was the one who really had breakout singles potential. And some people thought, no, it's Caster. I don't really see it in Bowens. I still feel that way. But it really hit me when I heard that comment from Excalibur. I said, my God, you're trying to get the idea over here that this guy's been on an incredible hot streak. What a slap in the face to everybody, including Anthony Bowens. Like, no, he's not. He's not. He should be. And he certainly didn't win his match tonight, but I didn't expect him to. I mean, Ricochet is the one with a match on the pay-per-view. Anthony Bowens is not. Anthony Bowens was not going to win this match. But consistent television time is the key. That's what he needs. So we're told that this match came about after a run-in in the back earlier in the day about who is the true Scissor King. Well, that's a pretty lame way to come up with a match, but okay, here we are. Ricochet tried to mock Billy Gunn on the outside with a crotch chop. Bowens cut him off with a float-over DDT. Clothesline sent Ricochet out to the floor where Billy laughed at him for being bald. Bowens tried to suplex back inside. Ricochet reversed and brought him to the apron. And while holding on to referee Paul Turner's shirt, Ricochet managed to post Bowens heading into the commercial. Bowens battled back when things came back. He hit an up and over Famouser, followed by a spinning reverse torture rack slam for 2. Ricochet floated over, hit a pump knee, loaded up the spirit gun, but Bowens dodged it into the arrival. Bowens cracked Ricochet with a mollywop, which is that forearm smash. Ricochet, though, rolled outside to save himself from being pinned. Gunn went to go grab Ricochet when Paul Turner cut him off, and that distraction allowed Ricochet to retrieve the golden scissors, which were tucked away under the turnbuckle pad. He stabbed Bowens in the forehead with them, and then back inside he hit the spirit gun to steal the pin. When the match was over, Ricochet was leaving at his back turned, and Ricochet is backing up the aisleway, not realizing that Mark Briscoe has just wheeled a stretcher out onto the stage, and he is behind him with this stretcher because they're having a stretcher match on Sunday. Now, if you're wondering why are these two men having a stretcher match, I am guessing it has to do. This is kind of a little homage by Tony Khan to Sabu. Sabu just passed away. Sabu had a pretty famous stretcher match with RVD and ECW back in the day. And in fact, the night that they had their stretcher match at the ECW arena, a young Tony Khan was in attendance that night in Philadelphia. A 13-year-old Tony Khan was in the building that night. That was the same night Chris Jericho had his final match in ECW. So I think this is just a tribute to Sabu. Nothing more, nothing less. So Briscoe, he fires off some punches. He loads Ricochet onto the stretcher. He goes up top for a froggy bow. He's going to do a froggy bow from the top rope to the stretcher on the floor until Ricochet bails and he crawls to the back. The match here, look, a decent little match. Ricochet, again, had to win because he's the one on the pay-per-view on Sunday, not his opponent here. But again, just to put a final point on the Bowens thing, just get this guy on television consistently. Come up with something for him to do. Having a match on Collision and then letting 3 weeks go by and then having another match and your 2 wins are over Blake Christian and Lee Johnson. It just tells the fans what you think of Anthony Bowens in the pecking order here in this company, and it's not good. It's not good. Frankly, I don't think he needs Billy Gunn in his corner anymore either. But if they want to keep Billy with him for a little while longer, whatever. I don't think he needs him anymore, so I would just get rid of him and have Anthony Bowens go out there and get himself over. But he's got to have something to do in order to do that. He's got to get TV time. He's got to get promo time. It's not enough to just send him out there. Oh, he's the pride of professional wrestling. Boy, he's on some kind of hot streak. I mean, I heard that Anthony Bowens got a win over the Beast Mortos last week. Another one who doesn't win. Boy, he's rocking and rolling right now. They strapped a rocket to this guy. Like, give me a fucking break. Prove it. Like, prove that you actually see something in him and want to do something meaningful with him. When we get past Double or Nothing, let's see what they do with him. I'm not going to hold my breath. But don't lie and tell me that he's on this incredible hot streak. I mean, as if you want to just completely kill whatever credibility your main announce voice has. That's one way to do it. Stokely Hathaway was backstage with FTR, saying that they could sign their contract for Double or Nothing right now, or they could do something special because they want to look Daniel Garcia and Nigel McGuinness in the eye before signing. And he said that they could even bring along that bitch-ass Daddy Magic to see McGuinness sign the contract for the last match of his career on Collision. So I guess we're going to get a contract signing on Collision. Again, Collision is tomorrow night. It's airing on TBS, assuming they don't cut the feed 20 minutes in. 3 chairs were set up in the ring for the next segment. Renee was in the ring to introduce the 2 ladies that are in the finals of the Owen Hart Foundation tournament this Sunday at Double or Nothing. First, it was Jamie Hayter out to the ring, followed by Mercedes Moné. Duff's Vid says Sockface has no credibility. Sockface? I didn't say he had a lot of credibility to begin with some of the things they have him saying on commentary. But stuff like this doesn't help. So they had these Hollywood directors type chairs in the ring. Mercedes is sitting in one, Jamie is sitting in the other. Renee said Hayter has done something that Mercedes has not been able to do in her time so far in AEW, which is win the AEW Women's World title. And she brings up Jamie's injury history and asks if she views herself as the underdog on Sunday. And Hayter said if she's the underdog, so be it. She'll keep crawling back time after time, not having others do her dirty work for her, and act like she's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Hayter said she's a fighter. This means more to her than it does to Mercedes. They all know it, because this is more than a title shot. It's about not being forgotten. When the bell rings, the confetti falls, the cup is lifted. If it's not Hayter doing it, she'll question what's the point of even going forward. Renee then turns to Mercedes to ask if she's worried that Jamie will be the first woman to beat her in singles action here in AEW. Monet calls herself the Beyonce of women's wrestling. You know, first we had Javon Evans from NXT calling himself the Tupac of wrestling. And now we have Mercedes calling herself the Beyonce of wrestling. Looking straight through Hayter like the glass doll that she is. And she always gets what she wants, and what she wants is going to All In Texas to become the AEW Women's World Champion. She's 25-0 in singles competition, 300. By the way, I should mention, I didn't write down the name of the woman that she's wrestling. She's wrestling someone from CMLL in an open challenge on Collision tomorrow night. I don't know why you would do this. I really don't know why you would even risk it, because she's in one of the feature matches on the pay-per-view on Sunday. And she has a story going into it now with Jamie Hayter. Why even put her in the ring in a match on Collision a few days before the pay-per-view? Like, if something happens, they're fucked. Not that I'm willing it, but like, it just seems like an unnecessary risk to be taking for her to even be in a match on that show. I don't know why you would do that. Hopefully it's a good match, and hopefully everybody comes out of the match in one piece the way they went into it. But I saw that and I said, I don't know if that's the smartest thing to be doing here. Do we really need to have her in an open challenge against somebody who isn't even on the roster tomorrow of all days? You can't do this match next week. Just get to the pay-per-view. Keep your key players healthy. Get to the pay-per-view, do those matches, and then you can do whatever match you want to do. Reina Isis, yes. Reina Isis. So anyway, she said that she said Double or Nothing won't be when Hayter's story begins. It'll be when her chapter ends. Hayter mentions that Mercedes is looking a little lighter tonight. She's bringing up the fact that she recently lost her New Japan Strong Women's Championship. Hayter watched Mercedes lose. Her destiny, she believes, is losing everything. And at that point, that pissed Mercedes off. She exploded out of her chair, and she waffled Jamie and knocked her backwards out of the chair. Mercedes threw a left hand, though, that got blocked, and she got folded up by a haterade from Jamie. At that point, Timeless Toni Storm's music hit. She pranced on down the aisle with Luther because she was going to be on commentary for the main event, which was coming up next. I don't even think she ever made eye contact with Jamie Hayter in the ring. She just pranced on out and made her way over to the announce desk. This was not nearly as good as the Will Ospreay face-off with Hangman Page at the beginning of the show. We had 2 face-offs tonight. This was the inferior of the 2. On its own, it was fine. It was okay. The problem, it was just a glaring issue here. If you compare the 2 segments, their stories and their characters here for Jamie and Mercedes are not nearly as fleshed out as what we have with especially Hangman and Ospreay on the men's side. So you can't really... I'm having an issue getting into the match. The match itself is going to be very good, but I have an issue when I'm listening to them cut promos on each other here. And especially when Mercedes was cutting her promo, because it was very, very paint by number stuff. I'm the CEO, I'm undefeated. And, we've heard this before. Very surface level stuff. There's nothing deep to it. Whereas earlier in the show, you've had Hangman and Ospreay. They're out there talking about their families and talking about why this match is so important to them. And you didn't really get any of that here. This was like the exact opposite. So these 2 matches are the matches I'm most looking forward to on Sunday, because I think they're both... I think this match is going to be very good. That main event is going to be fucking off the charts between those 2 on Sunday. That's what I'm looking forward to, a Double or Nothing. But as far as these final face-offs to really get you kind of pumped up and as excited as you could possibly be for this match, they couldn't reach the level of what we had in that opening segment. And because we had 2 of them on the same show, I'm comparing them, and it's just apples and oranges. There's no comparison here between the 2. Jamie Hayter has not really been fleshed out at all. Jamie Hayter came back and she's won matches and gotten herself to a point where she's in the Owen, which is great. She's in the finals, but I'm saying, character-wise, same with Mercedes, promo-wise, character-wise, there's nothing deep there. They haven't explored anything deep with either of these women as far as any particular story. So there's not much there. What else were they going to say on the microphone? You asked Jamie about her injuries, which she says she doesn't want to talk about. Mercedes has her, stock answers that she goes to, and it's like, okay, you know what? Just go to the pay-per-view, ring the bell, and let them go do their thing. Because I know the match is going to kick ass. Let me keep with Mercedes here for a second, because Mercedes made a comment in an interview with Justin Barrasso of Undisputed. And she commented on her match with Athena. She loved her match with Athena, which was earlier in the Owen Hart tournament. It was the opening round. And they had a great match on Dynamite. And she was lavishing praise on it. But she also said this. That match, it was so fucking cool. Athena gave me hell. I've never experienced anyone like her in the ring. Athena has been doing it for so long. I was watching her before I was even signed to WWE. I want to see her on AEW television more. She's too good not to be seen. She's explosive, one of the best innovative wrestlers in the world. She is that fucking good. Now, this is Mercedes Mone saying this. And I can't tell you in the past when I've made comments about Athena and why is she being hidden away in Ring of Honor, right? There's always some people who take great offense to this. And they say, well, she's not being hidden away. She's the forever champion in Ring of Honor. She's their top star. Just because you don't watch Ring of Honor doesn't mean that she's being hidden away. Maybe you should watch. Like, they get so defensive about it, right? And all I said is, this woman is so good. Why is she not on AEW television? You get maximum visibility on TBS and TNT, on Dynamite and Collision. Those are their main shows. That's where the stars are. And that's all I'm saying. This woman is so good that she should be in the mix with the top stars on AEW television. That's where she's going to be seen. That's where she's going to be visible. She's not going to be stuck behind a fucking paywall. But they get very defensive about it. Well, I wonder what they'll have to say about this quote. Because here's Mercedes. Mercedes Mone, who works for AEW, saying the exact same thing. Literally. This is what she's saying here. She's too good not to be seen. Are the ROH bots going to go after her too? Because that's the reality of it. Whatever the audience is that Tony Khan has on Honor Club, there are not a lot of people who get to see this woman. And she has been there for a very long time. Now, maybe he's still trying to get a TV deal for Ring of Honor. He's been trying to get a TV deal for Ring of Honor for 3 fucking years. But that doesn't mean that at some point, this woman should not be seen by the masses and involved with not just Mercedes, but my God, I mean, there's Jamie Hayter and there's Toni Storm, and you can go down the list of different female talents that they have on that roster, Statlander and everybody else. And as long as she's stuck in Ring of Honor and she has that Ring of Honor Women's Championship, that's simply not going to happen. Like, what is the end game with her? What is the end game with Athena? When does that chapter end and the next chapter begin? Apparently Mercedes is asking the same question. Maybe because Mercedes said it, Tony Khan will be more receptive. Because everybody else that's been saying it, apparently it's fallen on deaf ears. Maybe the fact that she brought it up, maybe something will start to happen now. Main event on this show was Mina Shirakawa challenging Toni Storm, who is challenging Toni Storm this Sunday for the AEW Women's World Championship. Tonight, she took on Julia Hart. This was the main event. This was not what closed the show. But this was the final match on the show tonight. Toni Storm was on commentary. She's always got a few zingers up her sleeve. She said despite last week's loss to Mina in the 4-way, she still has the biggest package, saying that she'll smack the mask off Excalibur if he brings it up again. So the match opens with a series of reversals until Julia works over the left arm. She even did the Undertaker rope walk. And she came off with the clubbing blow that the Undertaker used to do. So Mina, a little bit after, scaled to the top rope. And she did a little hip shake. Came crashing down onto Julia with a knee. Snap drop kick to the knee. And she tripped up Julia before turning her attention to Toni outside. So Julia stumbled to the corner. She tried for a boot. Mina, though, blocked it into a dragon screw. And Toni on commentary said that that's not going to work with her because you'll need a crowbar to get between her thighs. That's right. Julia fought back with a tarantula in the ropes, but as she broke the submission, Mina fired off a spinning back fist. Mina looked for a crucifix bomb out of the corner off the ropes. It got botched on the landing. She basically landed on Julia. It just did not look good. It was not a crucifix. So Julia wanted her moonsault. Mina moved. Julia came up limping on the landing. And so Mina chop blocked the leg. She tried for a figure 4. Julia got an inside cradle, only a 2 count. Mina hit a rolling elbow and wanted a glamorous driver. But again, Julia got a cradle, only a 2 count. And then Mina managed a seatbelt cradle, and that got her the flash pin to give her the win here in this match. Now, I saw there were a couple people in the chat who said that they think that Athena may cost Mercedes the match on Sunday. I hope so. I would love it. I would love it. Anything to get her back on the show and get us to another Mercedes and Athena match. I mean, I crowed for months about doing that match in Texas. You know, maybe even champion against champion, title for title. If that ends up being the direction for Texas, dude, I'm all in. No pun intended. I'm all in. That'd be great. Do I think that Mercedes is, do I think that Athena is going to show up on Sunday and cost Mercedes? I don't, but I hope it happens. If that's what gets her foot in the door and gets her back on television, then I'm all for it. Because she just dropped off the face of the earth after that loss to Mercedes. I don't know if she's wrestled at all since then. I haven't even checked to see what Ring of Honor matches she's had. So she just kind of dropped off the face of the earth. Is it out of sight, out of mind? So it's a bigger surprise if she suddenly shows up. It's hard for me to imagine because the Owen Hart tournament, I don't know. I mean, I how many matches in the Owen Hart tournament or final matches in the Owen Hart tournament have we had that were marred by interference? I just don't think it's something that Tony does, you know, or at least he doesn't make a habit out of it. Like I know in the Continental Classic, you're not like there's no interference allowed, but I think he tends to stay away from that kind of stuff when it comes to the Owen. But if you wanted to make an exception here, great. because there was one thing about the finish of their match that the announcers completely ignored. Now to be fair, I didn't even notice it at first when I reviewed the show. I didn't even make mention of it. Other people brought up the fact to me that it looked like Mercedes hooked the tights and basically cheated to get the win. The announcers made no mention of it whatsoever. And remember that night they quickly pivoted because Toni Storm was up on the balcony or whatever, and they just kind of pivoted to this stare down from afar with Mercedes and Toni, and it was never mentioned. So it's like, if they were going to have Athena show up and cost her the match, you would think it would play off the finish of the first match and her cheating to win, but it was never mentioned on TV. So that's why I say no. I really don't think they're going to do that. But if they did, then I think that would be great. Now, when the match was over, Mina signaled to Toni for her, title, that she's going to take her title from her. Julia attacked Mina from behind, and Mina fought back. She applied the figure 4 leg lock. Here comes Sky Blue. She makes the save for Julia. And Sky Blue is beating down Mina until Toni Storm has seen enough. And she leaves commentary. She drops Sky Blue with a snap German suplex. Julia ate some back fists from Toni and from Mina, who grabbed the women's title and held it up before both of them had a tug of war over it. Storm tried for a boot. Mina caught her foot, hit a dragon screw. And then Mina followed with a figure 4 leg lock around the ring post as Toni screamed in pain, and the referees were out to pull her off of Toni. So they kept Mina looking strong, going into the pay-per-view match on Sunday before she loses. And then what? That's my question here. When she loses, do they have a plan B for Mina Shirakawa? This woman just came back. She is officially full-time now on the AEW roster. She'll go in there on Sunday. She'll wrestle Toni Storm. She'll lose to Toni Storm. And then what? Is Mariah May going to come back? Because if Mariah May comes back, then the two of them are almost certainly going to work together, either as opponents or partners. But if Mariah is not coming back, then what's next after this loss on Sunday for Mina? Because they went right into the title match. Like, Mina literally made her return last week and won, and now she's in a world title match at Double or Nothing. You talk about going from 0 to 60 in 4 seconds. What's next for Mina? Something, I hope. Hopefully it's not an Anthony Bowens type situation. So I said they weren't done yet. They pitched it to Renee in the back with the Young Bucks, who said they have to leave. They're on their way to the airport. But Matt reminded us about what Samoa Joe said earlier in the show. Joe said that he wasn't done with us. He was going to get his hands on us. He's a liar. So, of course, they went to go leave, and who should show up? Samoa Joe. He's got the trash cans, so there he is. Oscar the Grouch. Powerhouse Hobbs is there, too. We get a little brawl in the back. Wheeler Yuta shows up with a kendo stick. Moxley is there. Marina Shafir, Claudio. So now here comes Swerve is there, and Shibata shows up, and Kenny Omega. Kenny, this was great because I don't know where they are. They're not even like. Eventually, they made their way into the arena, so they were kind of on their way. I don't exactly know what area they were in, but all of a sudden you see Kenny Omega show up. He just very casually walks into the shot, like no sense of urgency or anything. He's like, "Oh, hey guys, I'm here." So there's Kenny. So they all brawled back into the arena. You know what this was? This was like one of those old segments on Raw, the Monday before the Royal Rumble, where they have the obligatory, send everybody out there to brawl because we got the Rumble on Sunday. That's basically what this was, but for Anarchy in the arena as a last-minute way to hype up the pay-per-view. It was mass chaos at ringside. Everybody's fighting and brawling all over the place. Kenny Omega had a chain. He's choking Matt Jackson with it. They were playing music in the background. I couldn't pick up on what the music was. I think it was just some generic shit. Maybe Def Rebel did the music for them. I don't know. But they were playing some kind of music in the background throughout this entire thing. Omega ate a BTE trigger in the center of the ring by the Bucks, but then he made his own comeback. We got a house call V-trigger combo from Omega and Swerve to the Bucks. Finally, there's somebody you may have noticed that was conspicuous by his absence. up until this point in the show here. And that is Gabe Kidd. Blink 182. That song was Blink One. I could barely even hear what it was. Well, whatever. It sounded like generic shit to me. Hopefully they don't play Blink 182 on Sunday. So anyway, conspicuous by his absence up until this point, Gabe Kidd, who finally showed up. Gabe Kidd showed up. He was in the crowd. Joe had Moxley locked in the coquina clutch, and Gabe Kidd comes up from behind, whacks him in the back with the briefcase to break the hold. And so he joins in on the attack with the heels, and the Bucks pull out a pair of tables from underneath the ring, set them up on the outside. Then they place Swerve on one table. They place Omega on the other table. The Bucks went up top, one buck on one turnbuckle, the other buck on the other. And Matt comes off with an elbow to Omega through the table. Nick comes off with a splash to Swerve through the other table. And it finally ended, because this just was going on and on and on. They gave half the fucking match away here at the end of this show. Like, this is literally, this is what Anarchy in the Arena is. It's just random brawling, some music playing in the background, tables, kendo sticks, garbage cans, chairs. I mean, this was more than just a little preview here. This was more than a sneak peek. They gave half the movie away here at the end of the show. What we're going to see on Sunday is not going to be all that radically different than what we saw here at the end of this show. But the teams have been made official. We now know what the teams are going to be. It will be 6-on-6 on Sunday. It's going to be on the babyface side, Swerve Strickland, Kenny Omega, Samoa Joe, Powerhouse Hobbs, Katsuyori Shibata, and Willow Nightingale. So it is official that we will have women in Anarchy in the Arena for the first time. It's Willow Nightingale. Marina Shafir, I mean, take it or leave it. But with Willow is fantastic. So her being in there, I have no issue with that at all. Something different. I think it'll make the match a little more fun. I'm sure that the interaction that she has for the most part will be limited to just her and Marina, but she'll do some spots, or take some bumps and whatever. I mean, that's fine. She's Willow. She could take it. So that's the babyface team. On the heel side, we have Jon Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, Wheeler Yuta, the Young Bucks, and Marina Shafir. So I was sitting here and I was thinking to myself, well, what was the point of reintroducing Gabe Kidd in the way that they did at the end of that cage match last week? And he's not even involved in Anarchy in the Arena. He doesn't have an official role, in this match. And there is one name that ties directly into Gabe Kidd, and it makes me wonder if this is the reason why. Now, Gabe Kidd will be there on Sunday, and Gabe Kidd will be involved. He may not officially be in the match, but I would be shocked if he's not there on Sunday. He's not helping out the heels and giving them the man advantage, and it ends up being a 7-on-6 type situation, right? And so the baby faces, they need another guy. They need somebody else. Who's that guy going to be? Well, there is a guy who's been gone for a while. In fact, he's been gone exactly 1 year as of this month. And it just so happens that the very last match that we saw him in was in New Japan. And it was a last man standing match against Gabe Kidd that he lost. And that man is Eddie Kingston. Eddie Kingston broke his leg in that match. If he broke his leg or tore his ACL, whatever the exact injury was, he fucked his leg up something fierce. And he's been gone for a year. Now, I don't know if he's medically cleared yet to come back. He was supposed to be out about a year. Well, guess what? It's been a year. We've heard nothing. Eddie will occasionally post some updates. We've seen him training and stuff, but there's been no recent updates about I'm a few weeks away from getting cleared or I just got cleared. Yeah, we haven't heard anything, right? It's been kept under wraps. And so, what I'm thinking is that Gabe Kidd will be involved. And when the baby faces need some additional help, we get the return of Eddie Kingston. Again, I don't know physically if he's ready to make a full-time comeback or not, but can he be there? Can he go after somebody? We'll find out. I think he might. And so that would make sense as far as why is Gabe Kidd even involved here? Why would they randomly bring Gabe Kidd in to be working for Jon Moxley? Why would he be involved in this at all? That would make sense. And then we can end up Eddie Kingston getting a match with Gabe Kidd. Maybe that's a match in Texas at All In. Gabe Kidd had that incredible match at the Tokyo Dome with Kenny Omega at the beginning of the year. That was a star-making performance for him. So if they want to get him in the ring for a match at All In, that's fine with me, but you got to find the right opponent for it. Eddie Kingston would make all the sense in the world, and I would imagine by July, certainly, he would be ready to go. So I think that's where this is headed. And look, if it's not Eddie, Darby Allin, I should mention this. Darby Allin, he reached the top of the mountain. Literally. He reached the top of Mount Everest. He took a photo with the AEW flag, which he promised to do. Only a matter of time now before Triple H and Nick Khan send one of their talents up into space, sends him to the moon, so they could put a WWE flag up there and say, see, we did even better. But maybe Darby Allin, if not Eddie Kingston, maybe Darby Allin shows up, gives the assist to the baby faces. Darby is now in the middle of his descent from the mountain, which apparently takes a few days. It's not like a weeks-long thing. But, again, he's been on that mountain for probably 2 months. So I don't know that he's going to come down from the mountain and then make a booking the next day. It may be a few weeks maybe before we see Darby back on TV. But I'm just saying, if it wasn't Eddie, you've got Darby, you've got Hook, right? We haven't seen Hook since he got taken out by the Death Riders. But I think that will tie into Gabe Kidd's involvement in this match on Sunday. But that's your go-home show. That was Dynamite for tonight. Let me run down this entire card as it currently stands for Double or Nothing coming up on Sunday. We have 8 matches, which I think is great. That's a fine number. Okay, you don't need to add any more. Please, 8 matches is fine. You've got FTR taking on Daniel Garcia and Nigel McGuinness. FTR just went heel recently. They got a new manager. Would make no sense to beat them, especially against an announcer and a wrestler. So Nigel is now. FTR is going to win this match. We have Ricochet taking on Mark Briscoe in a stretcher match. Ricochet, I don't know how many of you are aware of this. Ricochet is 0 for 6 in pay-per-view appearances so far in AEW. He is winless in 6 matches so far on these pay-per-views. If anybody, and I know Mark Briscoe doesn't always win his matches either, but Ricochet needs this win more than Mark Briscoe does. So I'm going with Ricochet to win. We have Okada defending the Continental Championship against Speedball Mike Bailey. If you believe that Okada, after all this time, is dropping the Continental title 2 months before Texas and a presumed match with Kenny Omega, I don't know what to say. I think they should study your brain. I really do. I think it should be donated to science at the appropriate time, and they should study it. I don't know why you would think that. Okada is going to win. We have the Hurt Syndicate, Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin defending the AEW Tag Team titles against the Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions, Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara. This will be a win for the Hurt Syndicate. Timeless Toni Storm defends her championship against Mina Shirakawa. This will be a win for Timeless Toni. We have the 2 Owen Hart finals matches. Mercedes Moné and Jamie Hayter. The winner goes on to Texas to challenge the women's world champion, whomever that may be. My heart says Jamie Hayter. My head says Mercedes. And I got to go with my head here. And what I think realistically is going to happen, and what I realistically think is going to happen, is that Mercedes is going to win this match. I would not have her win, but I think that's exactly what's going to happen. And presuming she wins tomorrow night in her match against Reina, with a win on Sunday, she'll be 27-0. And then we have Will Ospreay, and this actually is the main event. Will Ospreay and Hangman Adam Page in the finals of the men's Owen Hart tournament. No matter who wins, we all win. This is going to be great. This is the one match out of 8 on this show that I am truly invested in. And it happens to be the main event. And there's no way these two go out there and have anything less than an excellent match. I'm okay if Hangman wins. I think Ospreay is going to win. I think this was his tournament to win from the word go. I think Will Ospreay is going to All In to challenge for the AEW World Championship. But this is the one that I think is going to steal the show. And then we have Anarchy in the arena, as I mentioned. Swerve, Omega, Joe, Hobbs, Shibata, Willow, taking on Moxley, Claudio, Yuta, the Bucks, and Marina Shafir. This is the one match where I'm changing my prediction from the other day. On the sound off, I picked the heels to go over. The heels actually stood tall to close out the show tonight. But if I'm right, and we're going to get an Eddie Kingston return to kind of ward off Gabe Kidd, that feels like the kind of moment that should lead to a babyface win. And I think the babyfaces are going to win. I think Team AEW gets the win here in Anarchy in the arena. We'll see tomorrow night on Collision. If they add anything else to the show, I would expect them to add some pre-show matches, but that is your double or nothing card. Let's take a look at the Twitter poll. What did you think of Dynamite? Before Double or Nothing. 35.8% thumbs up. 23.8% thumbs in the middle. And 40% thumbs down. At Solomonster, if you would like to vote in the poll, that is, as always, the place to go. Thank you for hanging out with me. We had a little bit of NBA coverage. I'll be surprised if they're not rioting and burning things in the city right now. People are going to be so upset about what happened with the Knicks. I still can't believe the end of that game. Wow. All right, let's take a look at your messages here. So thank you for bearing with me there at the beginning. It was the final closing moments. I mean, you can't turn that game off at that point. Can't do that. Gabriel Boss is actually starting us off here. Let me roll this back. Bret Hart says, I stopped watching thinking they won. See, that's why you can't stop watching. I can understand why you would have. I mean, they were up 17 fucking points. Gabriel says, Mercedes had quite the shortcomings the past few weeks. I expect her to stand tall tonight in the face-off, foreshadowing Jamie's shocking upset win. Well, it was Jamie who stood tall at the end. So I wonder if Gabriel feels any differently now. Dark Effect with the 20. Thank you, Dark Effect. I know this is probably an out-of-nowhere question. Do you, with the success of the Hurt Syndicate, do you think we'll ever see Charlie Haas in AEW? I think the potential is there for some really good stories if he would be open to it. I disagree. I don't know what stories is there to tell. I mean, maybe Charlie is still doing some independence here and there, but I don't even hear his name mentioned anymore. I don't know how active he even is. Do I think we'll see him in AEW though? I don't. No. It's all a moot point anyway, because I don't think we're going to see him. The Moldy Cheeseburger. Why do I have a feeling that Moxley will retain the world title at All In, only to drop it to Darby Allin now that he has completed his Mount Everest climb at the next pay-per-view? The next pay-per-view after that would be Forbidden Door, so it wouldn't be there. I mean, if Moxley retains it All In, which absolutely could happen now, the earliest I would see him dropping it to Darby would be All Out, which now is no longer on Labor Day weekend. They're doing it September 20th, actually in Toronto, at the Scotiabank Arena. The possibility of Jon Moxley leaving Texas with that championship just became very real. Scary as that is. Jerome Eugenio, great to see Ospreay versus Hangman as the main event. Hell yeah, man. That's the real main event on Sunday. It should be the main event. Joseph Stewart, did you know Ahmed Johnson and Ron Simmons had a reunion at a convention weeks ago? I did hear about that. Do you think Ahmed Johnson could have been a big star in WWE? They tried to push him as one, but I mean, he really only had himself to blame. I mean, he just couldn't avoid injuries, whether it was injuring himself or injuring other people. So there was potential for him to be bigger than he was, but he was never going to get to that level. Were you a fan of Ahmed Johnson's theme song? I thought you were asking a different question. His theme song? Yes, I liked his theme song. I liked his finishing move too. The Pearl River Plunge. I was a fan of that. Joseph Stewart also, were you a fan of the Incredible Hulk TV show with Lou Ferrigno playing the Hulk? I was. I wasn't watching it weekly. But when I would catch it occasionally. I wasn't like a big fan. Joseph says, who is your favorite Spider-Man villain? Ooh, Venom. Mr. Rod, the opening face-off between Ospreay and Hangman was beyond excellent. Literally brought tears to my eyes. Well, I don't know about that, but in The Last of Us on Sunday, that brought tears to my eyes. This didn't bring tears to my eyes. Regardless of who wins, I'm here for all of it. I loved it. It was quite great. It was a great wrestling promo. It was exactly what it was supposed to be, and they both knocked it out of the park. Joseph, did you know the original plan for the main event at SummerSlam 99 was to do Austin versus Rock in a rematch from WrestleMania 15? I don't know if that's true. We got the rematch. We got the rematch of Backlash. Austin in China was actually penciled in at one point. Oz and Glorious, stoked for Double or Nothing. I don't care about basketball or baseball, but always cheering for the Knicks and Mets via Solomonster. Hit that like button. Thank you, Oz. We are 10 likes away, by the way, from Be the Booker. So if we get 10 more, we will be doing Be the Booker. And if we don't, then we won't. So get those likes up. Mr. Rod says, Knicks in 6. He's still very optimistic. Okay. Ed Swoggle, going to Double or Nothing live, only now I am excited about it. Well, you should be. You should be excited about that main event. Chris Manson, I can feel it, Colin, in the air tonight. Very funny. A Phil Collins joke. One of the greatest live performances I've ever seen. If you look it up on YouTube, I don't remember what show it was from, but he did a live rendition of In the Air Tonight. Gives me goosebumps every time I come across it. David Thiering, and the response from Knicks fans to the team after that fourth quarter / overtime is... I see. That's where the booing Hogan super chat came in. It isn't over yet, but tough way to lose tonight for sure. It's a very tough loss. It's a very tough loss. Chris. Genesis. Andre Israel, as a Celtics fan, trust me, I know the feeling. Well, you would know the feeling. Terrible Dried Chicken, the Indiana Pacers said all gas, no brakes, like Jacob Fatu after winning game 1. Shaking my head. The Knicks blew it. They did. They blew it. They got nobody to blame. But who was that guy who kept hitting threes? Was it Naismith on the Pacers? Like literally every time they gave the guy that ball in the last like 5 or 10 minutes of that fourth quarter, he hit like 6 threes in a row. It's crazy. No cap. In honor of the Maple Leafs choking, who's your daddy, Toronto? Oh man, that takes me back to that legendary Rock promo, one of the best promos in WWE history. It was after his No Way Out win over Hogan. his second win over Hogan. Hogan never did get his win back over The Rock. You know that eats him alive. But he came out on Raw, and he cut that great promo. Stronger than a bear, faster than a buck. The biggest thing to hit Canada because the Maple Leafs suck. Ah, what a promo. He got nuclear heat. They booed him out of the building that night. Duff's Vids. What's a writer's favorite train station? Penn Station. I guess it would be. Also, what shape got knighted? Circles. That one wasn't so good. Why can't you trust a doctor with a short fuse? They have no patience. What tree can you hold in your hand? A palm tree. Well, naturally. Base Beerus, thank you for the $2. Chris Manson, what's your favorite Beyonce song? I don't really have one. Justin G, sorry I'm late. It's been a rough one. Love y'all. Well, I hope you're doing well. Whatever's going on, I hope it's not too serious. Unless you just had a bad day. We all have those. Dom Joseph, let's be honest. We were all excited for the Cena heel turn because we thought we were getting new music and a new look. And we got neither. I'm disappointed in the John Cena heel turn for a variety of different reasons. It has not been what I was hoping for. Bobby Means, probably the worst Double or Nothing card ever. You would think Monet and Athena would be the matchup for All in Texas, but knowing Tony Khan, he's going to screw that up too. Matt Fisher, did you hear that Duke Drosy was arrested? I would think so. I literally talked about it on the podcast last week. Which tells me that Matt didn't even listen to the show. That breaks my heart. You make me very sad, Matt. And Matt says, you should watch the Comic Pals on Thursdays at 5 o'clock Central. They're huge fans of yours. Also, Ahmed Johnson's best promo was in Chicago with LOD. Oh, I don't know about promos, but that six-man street fight, the Chicago street fight of WrestleMania 13, that was actually not bad. That was probably the second best thing on that show. But shout out to the Comic Pals. I appreciate the support. That's awesome. Check them out. Thursdays, 5 p.m. Central Time. There you go. They just added one more. No, they didn't. They just added one more match during the tapings for tomorrow. Oh, God. Just can't help themselves, can they? Oh, my God. All right, so yes, this is a spoiler for a new match that has been added to Double or Nothing this weekend because of course. So you've been warned. It is a tag team match. Now this doesn't specify which members of each if it's all the members of each faction or if it's a tag match or a trios match. I'm assuming this is a trios match. It will be the Paragon. Some of you might be wondering what the fuck is the Paragon? That is the former Undisputed Kingdom. They changed their name. Why? I have no idea. But they're the Paragon now. So that would be Adam Cole, Roderick Strong, Kyle O'Reilly are going to be taking on the Don Callis family. So if it's a trios match, I guess that would be Takeshita, Fletcher, and Josh Alexander, I guess, right? So there you go. 9. Now we're up to 9. We're up to 9 now. Then they'll add 2 or 3 matches to the fucking 0 hour. We'll end up with 11 or 12. It'll be the usual 11 or 12 matches. Oh, God. Paragon, I forgot about that guy from 2K23? 2K24? Paragon J. Pierce. Yeah, fuck that guy. Yeah, there it is. There's your Fletcher match, I guess. There it is. All right, well, we hit the goal for Be the Booker tonight. So I thank you for the 417 and counting. So on that note, Be the Booker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to Be the Booker.
Matt says there's a podcast. Now you're really breaking my heart. Tag team Be the Booker. MVP and Matt Hardy. Ah, yes, they had a nice little rivalry there on SmackDown for a while. MVP and Matt Hardy, former SmackDown Tag Team Champions, against the Holly Cousins, Hardcore and Crash. Always liked the Hollies. Actually, MVP and Matt Hardy were not a bad team either. That is a bell. Good way to start. Now we go to the women's match. We have an Owen Hart final on Sunday of Mercedes Moné and Jamie Hayter. Can we beat that? Can we do better than that? Let's book our own Owen final. Now this right here is a fine way to kick things off because we have the reigning Women's World Champion, Io Sky. Imagine Io Sky in the final of the Owen. This is going to be good. I'm going to give this a drum roll, too. I usually just do the drum roll for the main event. I'm going to do it here, too. Io Sky against Carmella. Io puts that one over the top easily. I was like, Io and Carmella. I don't know if they ever worked together before. But Io's in there, so I got no worries. And now our main event. Oh, boy. He hasn't been booked anywhere else, but we have booked him here in our territory. Ryback is back in the ring, and he's in the main event. That was part of the negotiation. He wouldn't appear anywhere but the main event. And the guy I was going to book in the main event, he got sick, vomiting all over the place, some kind of stomach bug. I had no choice, guys. I'm sorry. I booked the first guy who took my call. We have Ryback. Jesus Christ. Oh, God. Jeez. Oh, man. Ryback against David Arquette. And you know what that means. We have been Russo'd. Vince Russo has struck again. Cinema. Emperor's is cinema. Are we cooking? I gotta buy a chef hat. I need to buy a chef hat. So that way, when I actually book a really good match here and Be the Booker, everybody can be like, oh, Solomonster's cooking. And I can put my little chef hat on. We are not cooking here. We are burning down the house is what we are doing with this match. Unfortunately. 2 out of 3. Yeah, we got 2 out of 3. Well, that killed it. That killed the territory. There goes my award for Booker of the Year. I guess Dave is not going to be awarding me Booker of the Year next year. Oh, well. There's always next year. Thank you for hanging out with me here on a Wednesday night where there were other things going on that people were clearly far more interested in, but still a solid show. We will be back live on the channel here on Friday. We got to talk about SmackDown. And then this weekend, I'll be live on Sunday night after Double or Nothing. So come on back here on Sunday. There'll be a podcast as well, episode 914, which will include my Saturday night's main event review because I will not be here on Saturday. So there will be no live review, but we'll incorporate that into the sound off. So you'll get 2 shows on Sunday. But first, we got to get through Friday. And if you missed it, we did an almost 4-hour Tuesday Night Titans over on JD's channel last night. Talked about a bunch of different topics, including ketchup. I know, weird, right? Go check that out. Hey, Gold Matthew, dropping a super chat here. Thank you, Gold Matthew, with the 5. It says, do you think the WWE ECW could have thrived with better booking, or did the roster need more talent? WWE ECW was never long for this world because they were using the initials that people associated with a company that no longer existed. And the way that ECW is remembered, it's not remembered for what WWE was giving you. It was remembered for a very different style of wrestling. And that's not what ECW was under the WWE banner. They could have called it something else. WWE ECW was not going to last regardless. And Joseph says, buy or sell, Green Goblin or Doc Ock? Green Goblin. Shout out to Isaac, listening from Niagara Falls, Canada. I was there many years ago. As a young boy, I saw the waterfalls. And then I tried to go to Dutch Wonderland, but it was raining. So I looked out the back window of the hotel room and I saw all the rides off in the distance as the heavens opened up. And I was a heartbroken little monster. And that was the beginning of my villain origin story. And then I became Green Goblin. It all comes back around. I'll see you guys Friday night for the SmackDown review. Until then, Joseph, you get the last word. One day, will you review Ready to Rumble with David Arquette? No. No, I will not. And Eminem, Centurions or G.I. Joe? Us 80s kids rule. Neither. Believe it or not. I got to go neither. But there was a lot of other really cool stuff in the 80s. He-Man, Thundercats, the real Ghostbusters. But I got to go neither on that one. Sorry. See you on Friday.